Welcome to Stamps Old World UK, the place where history, art, and hidden value come together through the world of old postage stamps. Today, we will explore one of the most fascinating and collectible stamps from Canada, the Canada Postage 2 cents green stamp featuring King George V. This stamp is not just a small piece of paper, it's a symbol of an era that tells the story of Canada's royal legacy and printing mastery. The Canada 2 cents green stamp was issued during the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936. This particular stamp was part of a series that showcased the king's portrait in an engraved oval frame surrounded by maple leaves, Canada's national symbol. The design itself represents strength and unity, while the craftsmanship highlights the remarkable skills of early 20th century engravers. Printed in deep green ink, the stamp was used for standard letter postage within Canada and also for international correspondence. Many collectors admire this piece for its detailed engraving and historical charm, which makes it stand out even today. Now, when it comes to the value of this beautiful Canadian stamp, the price depends on a few key factors, such as its condition, whether it has been postmarked, and if it's part of a rare printing variation. A well-preserved used version of the King George V 2 cent stamp generally sells for around $10,000 to $15,000 in the collector's market. However, if you have an unused mint condition stamp with sharp image, original gum, and perfect perforations, its price can go much higher, reaching anywhere from $8,000 to even $15,000. Special editions, printing errors, or rare shade variations of this stamp have been known to fetch several $100s in specialized stamp auctions. Collectors from around the world seek this particular stamp not only for its royal portrait, but also because it represents a turning point in Canadian postal history. During the early 1900s, Canada was establishing itself as a strong, independent dominion, and stamps like this were symbols of both national identity and loyalty to the British Crown. Owning such a piece today means owning a small but powerful part of Canada's heritage. It reminds us of a time when communication relied on handwritten letters and fine engraving was considered an art form. So if you ever come across a Canada 2 cents green King George V stamp, take a close look at it. Check the printing details, the condition, and especially the gum on the back. You might be holding a valuable collector's treasure worth far more than you think. And even if it's not worth thousands of dollars, it still carries priceless historical significance that every true philatelist appreciates. Next up, the Canada Postage 2 cents brown stamp featuring King George V. This stamp is far more than an old piece of paper. It's a royal artifact, a masterpiece of early 20th century design, and a direct reflection of Canada's growing national identity during the reign of King George V. Let's dive into its fascinating history, design, and present-day market value. The 2 cents brown King George V stamp was issued during the early 1930s, a period marked by the Great Depression and significant changes in Canada's postal system. The stamp portrays King George V in military uniform, reflecting both his royal dignity and his connection to Canada as part of the British Commonwealth. The design is framed beautifully with maple leaves, a national symbol of pride, along with the words Canada Postage and 2 cents, engraved in an ornate style typical of that golden era of printing. The engraving work was done by expert artisans using the intaglio method, giving the stamp its rich texture and sharp detail that collectors still admire nearly a century later. This stamp was primarily printed in brown ink, a color chosen for its regal tone and contrast against the white background. It was used widely for domestic letter postage and also appeared on envelopes sent abroad. Over time, the 2 cents brown became one of the most circulated stamps in Canada, but finding one in pristine condition today is becoming increasingly difficult.
Most surviving examples are either postmarked or slightly worn, while mint condition pieces with full gum and sharp perforations are considered highly collectible. When we talk about market value, the worth of this stamp depends on several factors, mainly its condition, rarity of print variation, and whether it has any unique error. A used version of the Canada 2 cents brown King George V stamp usually sells for around $10,000 to $20,000 in normal collector markets. However, mint condition stamps, especially those with clean gum and perfect centering, can be valued much higher, anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000. Certain rare printing varieties, such as those with color shifts or re-engraved lines, can even fetch $26,000 or more at specialized stamp auctions. These higher values come from the historical importance of the issue and the limited survival of mint examples. The stamp's history is deeply connected to King George V himself, a monarch who guided the British Empire through World War I and into a new modern age. During his reign, Canada began to develop its own cultural and political identity while maintaining strong ties with the Crown. Every stamp bearing his portrait served as both a communication tool and a reminder of unity across the empire. Collectors today see this stamp not only as a postal relic, but as a reflection of Canada's evolution from a dominion to a confident nation. If you happen to own a Canada 2 cents brown King George V stamp, take a close look at it. Examine its color tone, the perforations around the edges, and whether the back still has its original gum. Even a small difference in color shade or printing detail can significantly affect its value. And while most stamps from this era are not worth thousands, their historical depth, artistic beauty, and connection to a royal legacy make them priceless to true philatelists.
Next up, the Canada 2 cents brown stamp featuring King George VI. This small yet royal piece of postal art holds a rich story of leadership, wartime resilience, and national pride. Whether you're a serious philatelist or simply a history lover, this stamp offers a fascinating glimpse into Canada's royal and cultural past. The 2 cents King George VI stamp was first issued in the late 1930s, shortly after the abdication of King Edward VIII, when George VI ascended the throne. Canada, being a proud member of the British Commonwealth, quickly redesigned its postage series to feature the new monarch. This particular stamp showcases King George VI in a formal portrait, wearing a business suit instead of military attire, symbolizing his steady civilian leadership during a challenging time in world history. The design, framed with intricate engravings and the words Canada Postage and 2 cents, is a masterpiece of balance, simplicity, and grace. Printed in a deep brown tone, it carries the elegance of an era when engraving was an art form, not just a printing process. Historically, this stamp represents a transition period in Canada, from the late 1930s into the World War II years. During this time, postage stamps were not merely tools of communication. They were patriotic emblems that connected citizens across the nation and to soldiers abroad. Letters bearing this very stamp traveled through uncertain times, carrying messages of love, hope, and courage. Because of this, the King George VI 2 cent stamp holds deep emotional and historical value beyond its paper form. Now, let's talk about the current market value of this collectible. The value of the Canada 2 cents brown King George VI stamp depends on condition, rarity, and whether it is used or unused. A used version of this stamp is quite common and typically sells for around $10,000 to $19,000 in collectors' circles. However, a mint condition stamp with perfect centering, clean gum on the back, and no creases or tears can reach between $25,000 and $34,000. If your stamp happens to be part of a special printing variation or has a rare color tone, it could even reach values over $60,000 in specialized auctions. Collectors particularly admire versions that show strong color contrast and sharp engraving, marks of high-quality early print runs. Beyond monetary worth, this stamp is prized for its royal symbolism. King George VI, remembered for his calm and steady leadership during World War II, became a beloved figure not just in Britain, but across the Commonwealth.
His image on Canadian stamps represented dignity, courage, and unity, values that still resonate with collectors today. Owning a stamp like this is like holding a preserved moment from a defining chapter of history, one that tells of both the struggles and resilience of a nation. So, if you ever come across a Canada 2-cents brown King George VI stamp, take a closer look, examine its edges, its paper quality, and the clarity of the portrait. Even the smallest details can make a big difference in its collector's value. Whether worth a few dollars or several dozen, this stamp is an authentic relic of Canada's royal and postal heritage, and a must-have for anyone passionate about philately. Thank you for joining us on Stamps Old World UK, where we explore the stories and values behind the world's rarest and most beautiful stamps. If you enjoyed learning about this classic Canadian issue, don't forget to like the video, share it with your collector friends, and subscribe for more fascinating stamp histories. Every stamp has a story, and here we make sure those stories are never forgotten.